Дякую вам, после. I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing Ambassador Danielle Caron, Canada's ambassador to Ukraine.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm very pleased to be with you today. I'm starting my third year in Kiev, but I have the impression that I am at my first year. Things have changed, not because we were not busy the first 2 years, but following the second round, as you know, with a very small margin, Viktor Yanukovych defeated Yulia Tymoshenko. And although the majority of Ukrainians did not vote for President Yanukovych, all of them now have to live with the new direction and with this new government. And what happened in February 2010 was not only a change of president. The entire atmosphere, the mood changed in Ukraine. By changing the rule, we now have a parliamentary coalition, a majority, that is supportive to the president. In the following weeks, a new prime minister, a totally new government, a new head of agencies, new head of oblast. So all the contacts that I had built the first 2 years were leaving their position, and all the newcomers, I didn't know them, or know only by name, some of them. With a functioning government, a budget has been approved in Ukraine, which was kind of needed. A country needs a budget to plan and to be managed. And with this budget and a better fiscal situation, the Ukrainian authority were able to reach an agreement with the International Monetary Fund. So the situation then seemed kind of unblocked in Ukraine. The foreign policy also changed. It included a renewed relationship with the northern neighbor, relation with Russia, moved from a confrontation mode to a cooperation mode. For many, the Ukraine-Russia reset was as natural as the Russia-USA reset or the EU-Russia reset. And we must admit that for millions of Ukrainians, there's nothing more natural than having a partnership with Russia. The controversial and unpopular NATO membership, where you have about 20% of the population supporting this approach, it rose up to 30% just after the war in Georgia, but it came down to 20. So during the campaign, the president said that he will withdraw the membership for now, because he was looking for support, political support, of course. But I believe that the main element of the foreign policy, the most important one, is that Ukraine's new foreign policy still includes EU membership, and this is very clear in their intention. The agenda with the EU remains the foreign policy, priority. Next November, on November 22, we will see an important summit between EU and Ukraine, and I will encourage you to read the statement that will come out of this summit. During that time, the last few months, the opposition was more or less in disarray. It has difficulties to accept the outcome of the election. NGOs, academics, stakeholders, many people were shocked by the decisions that were made, by the speed that the decisions were made and how they were made. We, as foreign government, we also started to express some concern with some consistent and repeated report of deterioration in respect of some fundamental freedoms in this country. And those concerns as substances. Ukraine, I must say, is now under the monitoring of the international community. And this is understood by the Ukrainian authorities. The international community made it clear that democratic process in Ukraine must not move backward. So in this is the same thing I wanted to make, but in this totally new context, it was important to make sure that the bilateral relation that we have remain a priority for Ukraine and for us. But then you will remember when I met your group of observers in Kiev in February, I told them whoever is going to win, Canada will have to remain engaged in Ukraine. And Canada has been engaged in Ukraine since independence and even before. And it was important to make it understood that Canada will continue to support an independent and democratic Ukraine. Therefore, I have expressed Canada's commitment to Ukraine at our first meeting with the President, which took place as soon as March 10, less than 2 weeks after his inauguration. I have met during that same week with the head of the National Space Agency, because we have good cooperation in that sector. It was a new head of this agency, of course. 2 weeks later, I was the first foreign ambassador to meet with the newly appointed Prime Minister of Ukraine, Nicola Azarov. We discussed Canada's support to Ukraine through strengthening the economic relation, through people-to-people contact, through our technical aid programs, through government-to-government high-level meetings. But at that time, I was unsure exactly what was going to happen and what was going to happen to our bilateral roadmap that we had developed in 2008 and have it signed in September 2009 in New York by our respective foreign minister. I was informed during my meeting with Prime Minister Azarov that the new authorities were reviewing all the arrangements made by the previous government, which is not unusual when a new government comes in place in any country, especially when agreements have been done at the end of the regime, that the new government elected look at what the previous did. But from this early meeting with Prime Minister Azarov, I understood also something. I understood the importance that the new Ukrainian authority plays to Canada. It was clear to me that the Ukrainian authorities understood and valued this special partnership between our two countries. I was also the first foreign ambassador to meet with the Prime Minister of Crimea, the day after he was appointed by President Yanukovych. I spoke to him about the Tatar community, about the rights of minorities, about these Canadian values that we pay special attention. But we also spoke about economy and strengthening our bilateral economic relation. And since then, I understand from my colleague Igor Stash that the Prime Minister of Crimea is now planning to visit Canada. Is coming with a delegation of the Crimean Chamber of Commerce. And since then, our bilateral roadmap is very much so the guiding of our bilateral relation. And since then, the Prime Minister of Canada was in Ukraine and confirmed the high-level political engagement and Canada's support for Ukraine democratic development. These high-level discussions, government-to-government dialogue, this is essential. We, Canada, must remain engaged so that the principle on which our relation is based, democracy, economic freedom, territorial integrity, human rights, are not abandoned. Canada was the first Western country to recognize Ukrainian independence. Well, our Prime Minister was the first leader from a Western democracy to meet this new president since his election. This was a meaningful visit. It is in Kiev, of course, with the official program, and in Lviv, where, as you know, he visited the Lansky prison and the Ukrainian Canadian University and met with their leaders. To paraphrase Marshal McLuhan, the visit was the message. So it's clear that Canada remains and will remain engaged with Ukraine. important elements of the roadmap have also been reconfirmed. The Youth Mobility Agreement has been signed, which is a very good initiative, but we need more of those exchange. We need stewardship, we need the Canada-Ukraine Parliamentary Program, we need other initiatives like the Canada World Youth. Yesterday, I was in Calgary meeting with the YMCA Calgary. They are monitoring and developing the YMCA network in Ukraine. Last night, I was with 480 Mennonites at their annual convention, and we spoke. The theme of the dinner last night was Ukraine. We had some bandura, we ate vareniki. It was a very nice evening. And they are also very engaged in Ukraine because Canada's engagement in Ukraine is very important through its civil society, university, other institutions. This is key to Ukrainian democratic development. Through student and academic exchanges and the transfer of Canadian know-how, and one of the best examples is here, it's Grant McEwen University, their program, their business program that has been transferred to the International Business Institute of Kiev. These commitments are essential. Another important element of the bilateral roadmap is the strengthening of our economic relationship between our two countries. The free trade agreement negotiation had been launched. Stockwell D was in Kiev. The third round of negotiation will take place during the week of December 13 in Ottawa. By the way, MDA is now building the first Ukrainian satellite that will be launched before the Euro Cup in 2012. And the aerospace mission that was cancelled last March because in the review of the decision of the previous government, we had organized a mission that was to take place at the end of March, and this was pulled out at the last minute, and I was very upset about it. But it was not in fact cancelled, postponed, because now we're working with the Ukrainian authorities, and this aerospace mission with several Ukrainian companies they're coming to Canada in February 2011, and we'll meet with Canadian counterparts. The private sector should respond positively to Ukraine's invitation to invest. Yes, the legal framework is weak in Ukraine, but well-prepared companies can be successful.